the world we live in feels safe until the moment you wake up and can't move. These are stories of sleep paralysis. Subscribe and hit the like button.
The day was not unusual. It was not difficult. It just was gray, uneventful, with monotonous events that dissolve attention so much that it tires one's very existence. In the evening, I decided to finish what I had been putting off for years, sorting through an old wooden box of junk. Inside were wires, old chargers, copper coins, lost keys, even a broken keychain. And among all this was a small candy box. It was yellowed, slightly damp around the edges, as if it had been lying in a damp place for a long time. It wasn't mine. I opened it. Inside was a rag doll, old and worn, with ordinary buttons for eyes. But when I turned it around, real human teeth flashed in its mouth. Rich white, even, neatly sewn with thin old thread. I threw the doll back into the box. Not even out of fear, out of disgust. I closed it. I put it in the farthest corner of the closet. The silence of the house grew thicker. I lay down in bed as if my body were tied to the mattress. Sleep came instantly, but superficially, my brain was still awake. My body no longer belonged to me. And it was in this semi-darkness that I heard the first sound. A knock, as if someone had lightly touched the floor with a tiny palm. I wanted to lift my head, but I couldn't. My body didn't respond. My muscles felt as if they were encased in heavy resin. A knock, closer, quieter, and a rustling sound. Irregular, dry, as if someone were dragging a bag of dust across the floor. Then a click on the nightstand, and the doll was already sitting there. Its button eyes stared at me steadily, without blinking, and its mouth twitched slightly, barely. The doll was alive, and she spoke. Finally, I see your neck. Her voice was thin, as if through fabric, with a whistle like an empty tube. I felt everything inside me grow cold. The doll slid off the nightstand. Her teeth clicked once, as if they were trying out the sound. She stopped by the bed. You opened the box. She whispered, "That means you're not afraid. Those who are not afraid have stronger teeth." I couldn't even blink. The doll placed her small rag hand on the edge of the blanket. She pulled down. 1 centimeter. Another. Click, click. Her teeth chattered like an impatient person. She raised her head and said, "Once, I had a smile my own, but they took it away, and I had to make a new one from those who slept nearby." She touched my leg. It's hard to make a proper smile with someone else's teeth. It always comes out crooked, dishonest. And I want a real one. Her voice became sad for a moment. "Your teeth are right. They're like the ones I had before they were taken." She slowly crawled closer, pressing herself against the mattress. You can't even imagine how much I want to smile again for real. I only need 2 small ones at the bottom. Her teeth clicked. Again, louder this time. Her rag hand touched my cheek. Cold, damp, uncomfortably heavy. "Open your mouth, a little. I'll be careful." I could do it quickly. My mouth was closed, but without control over my muscles, I couldn't keep it tightly shut. My lips trembled. The doll took me by the chin, with a small but strikingly strong hand. She lifted them. "Yes, that's right. See? These 2. The bottom ones. Are they your favorites?" I had favorites too, until they were sewn back. Crookedly, she brought her teeth closer to my mouth, so close that I could feel their cold breath. Yes, their breath. "Don't be afraid." Her voice became soft, gentle, too gentle. "When I take them out, the pain will be short, and I'll finally be able to smile properly." She began to slide her finger under my lower lip, gradually, centimeter by centimeter, pressing on my gums. I want to pull my head back, but my neck wouldn't obey me at all. The doll leaned her face closer. My teeth were lined up, even predatory, ready. "Give them to me. I've been waiting for so long. My sewing is ready. All that's left is to sew you." Her finger pressed against my first tooth. Pressed, pulled, probed. This one and this one. Click. I'll take them. She giggled, quietly, raggedly, like a child who finally got the toy she wanted. You will become part of my smile forever. Her finger began to pull the tooth down, and at that very moment, my paralysis broke. I jerked, with a scream that never came out. I fell over the edge of the bed. I hit my knee. The light came on suddenly. The table, the wall, an empty room, silence. I approached the closet with a lump in my throat. The box was there. The doll was inside, dead, silent. But on my blanket lay two small human fangs. And next to them was a thread with a needle, in which a tiny thread of red fiber was stuck, as if someone had been sewing, but decided to finish later. It was an ordinary evening, so ordinary that I wanted at least some kind of event to make me feel alive. I stood by the open window for a long time, not for any reason, just because the night air was thick and wet, smelling of cold, wet leaves and the metal of tram tracks. A damp fog swirled under the streetlight, thin, patchy. Its movements were strange, not chaotic, but purposeful. The waves curved slightly in my direction. I closed the window. I listened, trying not to pay attention to the feeling of being watched from the night air. The bedroom was warm. I crawled under the blanket, put my hand under my cheek, and closed my eyes. Sleep came slowly but surely, and just as I was drifting off, I heard the first quiet sound, S-H-H-H-H-H. If you listened closely, it wasn't the sound of the wind. It wasn't fabric, a chair, or the neighbor's cat. It was a sound that belonged to someone. I opened my eyes for a moment. A thin, milky haze hung in the middle of the room, barely visible, transparent, like breath in the cold. I thought I was just tired. I closed my eyes again, and then the light inside me was turned off. My consciousness entered a state of paralysis. My eyes opened on their own. My body was completely immobile, and the mist became dozens of times greater. It no longer stood alone. It lived here in the room. It spread, crept, rose up the wall, flowed under the wardrobe, under the bed, embraced the legs of the chair. It did not move like gas, like a creature crawling cautiously and deliberately. There was a flow in the fog, a rhythm, a pulmonary pulsation. Not mine, his. A thickening appeared in the center of the fog, darker, heavier. It was as if a boneless silhouette was swirling inside. And it spoke. The voice glided across the room without a source. You left the window open. It sounded like an accusation, like a statement of a long-known fact. I couldn't even turn my eyes. You thought. You closed it, but I was already in the crack. The fog always comes in first. I follow. It slid closer across the floor. The dark part of the fog stretched out, slid down the furniture, and quietly settled on the edge of the bed. The cold immediately pierced my legs. You smell warm. Those who smell warm always forget to close the windows. The fog squeezed under the blanket, slowly, almost gently, but that made it even worse. A cold force spread through my leg, rising upward. Don't move. You can't anyway. Let me in like you let me in here. The fog touched my stomach, then my chest, then my throat. I couldn't breathe deeply. It squeezed my lungs from the inside, not the outside. The darker part of the fog leaned over my face. It had no mouth, no eyes, no jaw, just two deep hollows that expanded and contracted. It was breathing right into my face. You're warm. I want your breath and part of what warms you from within. Do you mind? The fog embraced my neck, not my skin, my trachea itself, as if cold threads stretched inside, entwining my organs. Everything I'm looking for, breath. I don't have my own. I live on borrowed breath. Lend me yours, just for a little while. The fog squeezed my chest again. I felt my breath cease to be mine. The expansion of my lungs, not me. The compression isn't mine. The rhythm isn't mine. The fog has set its own. slower, hungrier. Okay, yes. I like it when you breathe under me. He leaned closer. Darkness swirled above his lips. And now, I'll go deeper, and you'll feel how we become one breath. A cold mass slid into the corner of my mouth. Barely, like smoke, but inside, a heavy, foreign presence. It filled my mouth. It crept up my throat, to my tongue, into my lungs. Let me go. Let me go. I need your breath, your warm breath. The fog rushed inside, as if trying to settle under my ribs. My vision began to fade at the edges. Everything merged into a white pulsation. It was already near my heart, as if thin threads of fog were touching its shell. Here, almost, I am where I want to be, where it is warm, where there is light. A little more, and I will breathe for you. Something clicked inside my consciousness. A strong jolt, a wild desire to live that pierced through this foggy gloom. The paralysis cracked. My chest expanded sharply, letting in air. I lunged forward. I raised my head and hit my shoulder. I coughed. The fog disappeared as if someone had sucked it into a black hole. The air became clear, unnaturally clear. I sat for a few minutes, clutching my ribs, feeling my own breathing rhythm return. The room was empty, but under the window, on the floor, there was a wet streak that hadn't been there before. And also, on the inside of the glass, a breath mark, a single circle, like from a mouth that touched the cold glass and made a short, tentative exhalation. The evening arrived quietly, not with wind, not with cold, but as if it crept into the apartment on its own, dissolving in the darkness of the hallway. I spent a long time tidying the kitchen, washing dishes with slow, repetitive motions, trying to organize my thoughts. The water flowed evenly, but its sound echoed too dully, as if the space was swallowing everything I did. When the water finally stopped running, I caught myself just standing over the sink and listening. It was too quiet. I walked into the room. I switched on the light. The lamp flickered once, a second time, and in that tiny, blinking moment, I clearly saw a dark, round silhouette on the wall, like the shadow of a gas mask with round openings. When the lamp finally lit up, there was nothing. Bara konkret. I imagined it. I lay in bed. The blanket was warm. My thoughts were heavy. Falling asleep was slow, as if someone was deliberately breaking the process. And just as I began to drift under, I heard it. H-H-H-H-H-H, F-F-F-F, H-H-H-H-H-H, F-F-F-F. A deep, heavy, rubbery breathing. I opened my eyes. No one. I closed them, and I was no longer in control of anything. My consciousness snapped on sharply, as if someone had flipped a switch. But my body, no. Complete paralysis. My chest moved minimally. Air entered in broken gasps. And then I heard it. H-H-H-H-H-H, F-F-F-F. But this time, closer. I forced my eyes open. The entity in the gas mask stood by the door. It wasn't moving. A dark cloak fell to the floor like wet fabric. The gas mask was old, military issue, with cracked lenses and a heavy filter that pulsed like a living organ. It was staring right at me. I couldn't even blink. The entity took a step, heavy, slow, but soundless. The floor barely shuddered, as if unwilling to give away a sound. Another step, another. The closer it came, the louder its breathing sounded. Ash-ash, 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 if-if-if-if-if. Ash-ash, 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 if-if-if-if. It stopped by the bed and leaned over. The glass circles of the gas mask were fog from the inside. Drops of someone's hot breath were slowly running down the interior surface. I was nauseous from the smell of rubber, metal, and something organic. The entity finally spoke. You are breathing incorrectly. The filter vibrated. You are wasting air for nothing. I tried to inhale. My body wouldn't obey. It was drawing my breath towards itself. The entity leaned closer, the gas mask touching my cheek with a cold edge. I am looking for lungs. Pause that could be taught to breathe correctly. I felt a shiver run down my spine. I was where the air ran out long ago. A wheeze, and now I need someone else's. Fresh, alive. Its hand emerged from under the cloak. Long, as if assembled from pieces of rubber. The fingers were thin, almost sinewy. It placed it on my chest. The moment the fingers touched my rib cage, my lungs stopped. Completely. I felt a heat in my head, pressure in my ears. The light in the room dimmed. You see, just like this slowly, a wheeze air must be held, not let go, not lost. It pressed harder. My ribs cracked with pain, but did not break. Breathe am my rhythm. Aslu exal ash 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 if. Ash 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 if. My body began to mimic its breathing, not by my will. Every one of its inhales was my forced exhale. Every one of its exhales was my half-inhaled, painful gasp. You're getting better. An approving wheeze, your chest is obedient. Your diaphragm soft. You suit me. It touched my neck. Its fingers encircled my trachea. It wasn't squeezing, it was adjusting. Right here, in this spot. People always breathe incorrectly. It pressed. I choked. My vision blurred. Don't be afraid. I'm catching your breath. I am preserving it for myself and for you. Later, the entity leaned so close that the gas mask glass touched my eye. I will take your breathing, a dull filter sound, and leave you the void. Only the void. It suits you. Its second hand lowered to my stomach. It pressed. Air whooshed out of me, like from a punctured balloon. I was no longer breathing on my own. It controlled everything. You don't understand. A quiet exhale I don't kill. I inhabit. I breathe myself into you. It opened the filter. Metal plates separated like petals. A hot lump of air, thick as smoke, burst out from inside. Breathe this. Divine. The stream of air slammed into my lungs. Hot. Suffocating. Alien. I lost consciousness for a second, then returned, then again, then again. Each time, the sensation that something dark was entering me deeper. The entity loomed over me with its whole body. The cloak covered me like a blanket, but cold and wet. Its gas mask was pressed against my jaw. A little more, and your breathing will be not yours. Never. It inhaled. H. F. My body sagged. My chest didn't move. Consciousness was fading, like air from a punctured tire. It was almost finished. I felt it entering, not physically, with the breath, the rhythm, the will. It felt as if my lungs were becoming part of an alien system. One more moment, and I would belong to it. Somewhere deep down, an instinct, panic, almost animalistic. I lunged, so violently that my neck cracked. The paralysis shattered. It crumbled. I broke free from its rhythm, from its lungs, from its will. I inhaled sharply, painfully, as if reborn. The entity was gone. Emptiness. Only me, gasping, trembling. On the floor, by the bed, lay a round piece of glass from a gas mask. Warm, and on it, words written by the condensation from the inside. You breathe too independently. I felt strange in the evening. Not bad, not good, just as if the day had left something unsaid. I walked from room to room, as if looking for the cause of my unease. I moved a chair, straightened a blanket, looked in the refrigerator, which I hadn't even opened today. The light bulbs were flickering. 1, 2, 3. I replaced them all, even though I could have done it tomorrow. But I wanted the room to be bright, without shadows. As I stood on a chair, changing the light bulb in the hallway, it seemed to me that the ceiling had dropped a little, for a split second, as if someone had pressed it down from the other side. I blinked, and everything was as usual. I blamed it on fatigue, on the late hour. Then I went to bed, on my back, as usual. The light bulb crackled, quieted down, crackled again, a familiar sound that always calmed me. Until it stopped, until there was complete, enveloping silence. And in that silence, when my thoughts were beginning to fade, a sound came from the ceiling. Slow, squeaky, like a fingernail sliding across plaster, drawing a long, indirect line. I had time to think, this is definitely not from the light bulb, and fell asleep. I opened my eyes not because I wanted to, but because someone woke me up. My body was immobile. My muscles were locked. My breathing was ragged. The paralysis did not come in waves. It came abruptly. The first thing I saw was the ceiling, only it was not where it should have been. It was too close. So close that I could see the smallest irregularities in the plaster, micro cracks, brush marks. And this ceiling was breathing. It rose a millimeter. It fell. It rose. It fell. Not like a building, not like things, like something alive. A concave shape appeared in the middle of the ceiling. First, a slight outline, then depth, then an opening. Something slowly emerged from the hole. An elongated head, empty eye sockets, a mouth stretched not horizontally, but downward into a vertical slit from which dust poured out. The shoulders got stuck in the drywall and pushed through it with jolts. The ceiling sagged even more, and then the head tilted sharply, to the right, to the left, straight at me. He spoke. The voice was cold, empty, as if someone were pulling a metal rod through a long pipe. I see you every night. He lowered himself further. I watch how you sleep, breathing sound, how you pause between breaths. My chest stopped moving. My body didn't even try to breathe. He smiled with his empty mouth. That's good. Don't move. Don't breathe. His head dropped to the level of my eyes, so close that I could feel the cold metal of his skin. A wire finger touched my cheek. It cut my skin with a light touch. Blood closer to the surface when you are still. The second finger ran down my throat. And thoughts are closer when you don't struggle. His head moved so low that it touched my forehead. I want to enter your head. Pause. It's warm there. It's dark there. There is room for me. He smiled even wider. You don't use your whole brain, and I can feel it. His long neck twisted around the bed like a rope. Two long limbs hung down from the ceiling and touched my temples. They pressed them together as if trying to push the bones apart. I'll find a crack between the bones, and I'll go there. Completely, I felt pressure inside my head. It was as if something alive was expanding inside my skull. I need just one thing. He inhaled. For you. To stop. For one more breath. The ceiling above him cracked. Pieces of plaster fell on my chest. He forced his body inside. One hand reached for my eyes. Don't be afraid. I'll watch over us both from the inside. His finger touched the corner of my eye and slowly pressed down as if to check how easy it would be to push the eyeball out to get in. He pressed my cheeks, opened my jaw, moved lower. Here, you can also enter, whispering, I'll choose. The best hole. His neck twisted into a knot. He was trying to get into my head in every way possible. You will become my home, my head, my place from the inside. Another centimeter, and he would have entered. I woke up with a bang. I jerked so hard that the bed moved back. I clung to the bed with my hands, and then to my head. It burned as if I'd been hit. The ceiling was flat, calm, without shadows. But on it, right above my bed, there was a distinct deep dent, as if something had been pressing down on it all this time. And on my forehead, a perfect white imprint of a wire finger.